Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Simon and today I am back to tell you about 3 books that I've absolutely loved recently that have stayed with me since I have read them and keep building and building in my brain. Like, I'm thinking about all 3 of these books a lot. So I thought, I'll let you guys know about them, even though I have talked about one of them already, and I will be talking about 2 of them again when it comes to my September wrap up. But I have mentioned quite a few times on the channel that I would really like, where possible, to shout about books that I've really enjoyed more than once, or just books that I've read in general more than once, because it does seem a bit sad if they're just in a wrap up and then they sort of vanish. Anyway, these certainly won't, because they will also, I'm imagining, but who knows, all be on my books of the year list when it comes in however many months' time. Don't think about it, Simon. It's terrifying how quickly the year is going. Anyway, I'm going to tell you about these books in the order that I read them. And the first book is a book that I have talked about on the channel before. I talked about it in my August wrap up, as it was the first book I read in August, and it's Love Forms by Claire Adam. And this has been talked about a lot recently because it was longlisted for the Booker Prize. Slight spoiler, that's one of the things that the next 2 books have got in common with it. This is all about a woman called Dawn who we first meet when she's 16 and she's pregnant in Trinidad, and she has to go to Venezuela to have her child and give it up for adoption. And then several decades later we meet her in London, where she is married, she's had other children, but she's thinking about this daughter that she had. And we go back in time and forward in time at once, which I really love when that's done really well, which it is in this case, finding out what happened and what is going on as she, as I said, tries to discover what happened to her daughter. And what I loved about this, well, there's so many things I loved about this. One, Dawn is such a fascinating character. She is, well, I spent a lot of the time reading this book thinking, how reliable is Dawn? Like, memories fade, although certain things in your life, I guess, stick with you, particularly, especially things like giving up a child. But there's little moments in this book where she's recalling something. There's such an oddness occasionally. You go, what? I don't want to give any spoilers away, but the chair in front of the bedroom door, for example, for those of you who've read it, I was like, what the heck is going on here? The other thing that I really love about this book is that Dawn is not hiding anything. If anything, she's wanting to get all of the secrets out in the open. A lot of books are more often based around secrets remaining secret and then suddenly being uncovered, rather than a character like Dawn who's like literally trying to get everything all out in the open. So I really enjoyed that about it. There was an interesting style to this, in the fact that it kind of flips here and there and you sometimes have to put things together. But also sometimes you get a bit thrown by how she's addressing the reader. So sometimes it's like she over-explains. So sometimes she will over-explain about Trinidadian culture and history, which I found fascinating because I don't know it very much. And then sometimes she'd really over-explain British cultural things like semi-detached or terraced houses. And when I finished the book, after it being an incredibly emotional ending, that's not a spoiler, but this book really made me cry, and I thought it was done beautifully, I was thinking about who is this book written to. And once I'd sort of figured out what my thoughts on it were, and I'd love in the comments down below if you just let me know who you think the book is written to, because I don't want to mention that just in case it feels like a spoiler, even though I don't think it probably is. But it kind of added this real richness, but also this element of kind of sadness for me, and the fact that the person that she's writing to could be anywhere in the world, and therefore you are having to explain things in, I don't know, it just kind of, it gave an extra layer to the book. And a lot of people have described this book as being really quiet. I don't think it's a quiet book at all. I think it looks deceptively still on the surface, but boy does it run deep, and are there things going on deep down in the undertow. I thought this was absolutely fantastic, and it's a book that I've been sent and had been like, oh, I'll probably get to that at some point, because I've actually been meaning to read Claire Adam's debut since I got sent that however many years ago that was. Awkward, the proof's still on my shelves, but it will be being read much sooner now. But then with it being on the book along list and me having it, and then doing some buddy reads with the lovely Cole, whose channel I'll link down below, of the books that I happen to have, I got to it much quicker, and I'm so glad I did. I kind of feel quite sad that this could have ended up lingering on the shelves a little bit longer had it not done. So that's one of the things that's brilliant about Pride, isn't it? It leads you to books that you might have had for a little while a bit quicker. It certainly did the same with the next book I'm going to talk about, which is Misinterpretation by Ledia Xhoga, which I bought back in June, I think, when Mum and I went to the new book bar in Chelsea. And this one, I'd seen the cover, the American cover, and I'll try to remember to put a picture of that here, and sort of fallen in love with it, because any book that has a big cat on it, and by that, well, I mean, it could literally be a big tabby cat or whatever, but a big, like, big cat, you know what I mean? That will draw me to it, because I've always been kind of obsessed with big cats. I mean, I'm obsessed with cats, I have 4. That really drew me to it. And what was interesting about it was, from the blurb, I couldn't really get a grasp on what this book was going to be, because it was kind of sold as a book about an interpreter. Sorry, I'll hold it up again. A book about an interpreter who becomes a little more embroiled in one particular client's story that also triggers her thoughts from home, and sounded a bit thrillery. Now, I would say this is kind of thrillery, although Cole called it a noir, which I think is much more apt, of an unnamed narrator. And again, the question of their reliability is brilliant, because boy, oh boy, does she misinterpret things. Just other people and situations, her clients, who she's meant to be interpreting word for word, and will sometimes go askew or impose her thoughts, or just interpret as sort of put it on herself and reinterpret herself, I guess. What I really enjoyed about this is I really love books where different cultures come together, and it's how they collide, it's how they coexist, it's how they sometimes intermingle, all those kind of things. And this book does that, because our unnamed narrator is from Albania, and she has gone to live in New York, and I love the depiction of New York in this. It is the gritty, lesser trodden version of New York, which I just enjoyed so much, and again added to that sort of noir feeling. But she's gone there, she's kind of working out her life there. What does it mean? The life with her husband, and their marriage is kind of having a bit of a tough patch. She's also really trying to help people who have come over to America in any way, and like I said, getting a little bit overly embroiled in some of her or some of the people who she's interpreting for's lives. And there's a lot of questions that come up in this book about what may or may not have happened to the narrator, both recently, because she'll be asked, do you not remember that you did this? And she's like, no, I don't remember that. But also in the past. And I found that really fascinating. So that kind of kept me going. Plus, she then goes, for reasons I won't mention, back to Albania, to Tirana, which I now really want to go and visit, because it sounded amazing. I looked it up and I'm now desperate to go. It looks incredible. And it's how going back with the experience of living in America and sort of having the Americanisms within you, and how that changes you, how that makes you feel about your homeland. And I thought that was done brilliantly. There is also, going back to the big cat energy, an amazing set of scenes that involve a panther, and it's making like the hairs go up on the back of my neck. I just thought it was so brilliantly done. I will say I would have loved even more of that. I thought that was just really rich. But again, if there'd been more, it wouldn't have been quite maybe so delicious and so unsettling. Deliciously unsettling, let's put it like that. I just really enjoyed this. This is a brilliant debut. It's a little bit rough around the edges, but I like that. I quite often say I don't think there is such a thing as a perfect book, and I wouldn't really want to read a perfect book, because then what happens after that? It's only downhill from there. But this, to me, has that energy. It's got a bustling, gritty, unsettling, unnerving, unreliable energy to it that I just really loved. And who doesn't love a character that's kind of spiraling out of control, because we all have those days. So yeah, I would highly recommend that one to you too. And then third up of the books that I want to talk to you about, and it feels unfair to say this is a favourite, but honestly, this book made me cry twice. I have thought about it so much since, and was so sad not to see it on the Booker shortlist. This is Endling by Reva, and if it hadn't been for the chatter about this potentially being a Booker contender, I would probably not have bought it as soon as I did, because I'd heard so many amazing things. I heard it was about 3 women on a road trip across Ukraine. I heard it was about somebody who was trying to rescue the last snail of its species, hence Endling. Also, the cover, that was another reason that I wanted one, wasn't it? Isn't it funny how I feel like that about covers, and yet when they're on the shelves, it's that we see, not that. Anyway, just a random aside. Yeah, this is about 3 women, but it really kind of focuses on 2, and I've just thought about that and how
interesting that is, for reasons that we'll come to.
Sorry, you know, you just have like a, ooh, that was like a light bulb moment going off in my own brain. First we meet Eva, who is part of the romance tourism, and she will date men with the potential of becoming a bride. And what she's doing with the money from that is setting up a lab in this trailer that she has, and she is trying to save the last snails of many, many species, or trying to get the last few snails of many species to try and keep them going. Through her story, we kind of see how she is questioning her own existence and the point of existence, and the fact that she feels very different from others and a real outsider. We then meet Nastia, who is another woman who is on the romance tourism trail, and she is dating lots of men, but her interpreter is her sister Sol. And I've only just realised how Sol is very passive within the book, but she's also the voice between characters, and there's a passivity there. And it looks at how these 2 sisters in a way make almost an ideal woman, because Nastia looks like a woman that men want to marry, but Sol's personality that she's putting on her sister through the translation is the personality that many men want to marry. And yeah, I thought all of that was done amazingly. Now, Nastia has a plan. Her mother has disappeared and has been a big part of Ukrainian politics and very anti-Russia. And as I should say, as this book opens, there are rumours that war is about to break out any moment from America. However, for them, the tension has been, and conflict has been going on for years and years and years. It's nothing new to them. So they're kind of a bit blasé to it. However, things do change, and on the cusp of them changing, Nastia has a plan to do something to really bring the world's media to focus on what is going on in Ukraine, and also to kind of impress her mother, who did the same sort of thing but has vanished. And I don't want to give too much more away than that, other than they do end up on this very random trip together, Eva, Nastia and Sol, with not just a bunch of snails, but some other, well, yeah, I'll say no more. I know some people have had trouble with the part of the book that I'm not trying to give away too much. I thought that was a fascinating look at the Western world. Again, it in a way chimed to me with one particular character, how you move somewhere else, it's meant to be so much better for you, but you really, really crave your homeland, and then you get there and it's not quite as you imagine, but then actually it might be better. I loved all of that going on here. All the writing about the snails, oh my goodness. I mean, I like a snail. Indeed, this ring is made from snail shell. No snails were harmed, it was an empty shell. The insight into them and how incredible these creatures are, and the way that then that looks at climate change and environment and what we're doing to the world. And then we look at war, and then on top of all of that, there is a meta element. Now, I was getting nervous because I knew that at some point this meta element was going to come into the book. I didn't know quite in what way, and it did really surprise me. But I was nervous because I was so invested in the story of these 3 women and the snails and others that I was like, oh, this is going to really break this up for me. It didn't. It added so much more. Again, I don't want to spoil how Maria Reva makes this book meta, or how indeed she sort of inserts herself and the situation in Ukraine all the more into this book, but I thought it was done really brilliantly. There is a segment of the book called Interlude, which, I'm going to say it, I think is some of the best writing I have read in the last 5-10 years. Honestly, just incredible, and it made me cry, both in terms of the way it looked at what's going on in Ukraine, but also made me cry about a snail. And oh, I just think the power in Maria Reva's words and the propulsion that this book has, and the sort of it's got this, anger is not the right word, but it does have this sort of, I guess it is angry energy to it that takes you along. Oh, I just thought it was absolutely incredible, and I haven't stopped thinking about it since. Will be thinking about it for a long time. I did wonder if I was particularly taken with it because as part of my day job, I work with Ukrainian libraries and I'm talking to them every week, and so hearing what's going on is just like, how, I don't know. Yeah, it leaves me speechless, and this book encapsulates quite a bit of that feeling, even though this is at the kind of cusp of it, even though, as I said, it's gone on for a lot longer than we in the Western world think. That added an extra poignancy, but reading it with Cole, he felt very similarly. And so, yeah, but I just think this is utterly, utterly, utterly brilliant and can't recommend it enough. I do just want to sneakily mention one more book that didn't get shortlisted. And the other thing I want to say is this is not a video being really pointed about, oh, these 3 incredible books that I loved so much didn't get shortlisted and outrageous. It's actually much more I'm so glad that these being longlisted on the Booker Prize has made me head to them all the sooner, and I've just had absolutely fantastic reading experiences with them. Whether there are books on the shortlist that I've read that I love less than these or not, it doesn't matter. I just want to like shout about these 3 books, but also again just say like how incredible that longlists do lead you to books that, like I said, may have been lingering on the shelves, or you might, you know, with Endling, I picked it up because of all the buzz and got really excited about it. Had I not heard about it before the longlist, I certainly would have got it because of the longlist. And another book that was longlisted that wasn't shortlisted that I also just wanted to mention, as I said, is Universality by Natasha Brown. Now, I read this last year as I was doing a Faber showcase where I was talking to Natasha about this in advance of it coming out, and the more space I've had from this book, the more brilliant I think it is. The first part of the book is an article, which is very much looking at, well, I don't want to spoil that, but the novel then shifts post that to looking at cancel culture, looking at class, looking at race, looking at politics with big P's and little p's, looking at the book industry and all sorts in a really direct, sometimes wry, sometimes wryly uncomfortably. That's how I'd say this book worked for me. I thought this was brilliant, and you know, if you're looking for another banging book, then get your mitts on this. I think it's out in paperback now. Yeah, it felt wrong to not include that one. I will just briefly, before I go, have a chat with you about what my plans are with the Booker shortlist. So I have not read I hadn't read 4 of them. That's not true. I hadn't read, hang on a minute, my maths is so bad. So the ones that I've got through that I have read are Flashlight by Susan Choi and also Audition by Katie Kitamura, and enjoyed that. I think that one's definitely worth the reread. I didn't get on so well with Susan Choi. I thought it was written like on a sentence level, she writes incredibly. I just thought there was a few too many sentences, and I thought it was a little bit long, and that sadly sort of lessened the power at the end that was really powerful and did make me cry. So I'd read those 2. I'd also started The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny by Kiran Desai. I'm going to read this. I put it on pause because
He says, talking about the Book Prize, longlist, shortlist, and indeed some of the longlisted and shortlisted books.
I'm a little bookered out, so I think I just want to have a little bit of a breather, but I read the first 2 sections and thought the writing was brilliant, and I was definitely invested. And you know, when you know you're going to be invested in a book for the long haul, it's just a case of right book, wrong time. That's very much this. So I'm hoping to head to this in a week or 2, but I definitely want to get to it before the winner is announced, as I do Andrew Miller's The Land in Winter, which I think I was put off by the hardback cover. This is recently come out in paperback here in the UK. The American cover of that book is absolutely stunning. I popped it there. Like, I am very jealous of that. Anyway, I went and got the paperback because Cole has been raving about it. I had a chat with Mum. I was like, oh, you like that book, didn't you? She's like, no, I really, really like that book. I do definitely want to head to that. I feel like as the sort of days get a bit greyer and more wintry. I know it's really basic to say when it's the London winter. This is one I'm definitely going to head to at some point. Then we have two others. We have Ben Markovitz, The Rest of Our Lives, or The Rest of Us Just Live Here. Why do I always struggle with that title? Which I don't have a copy of. I am intrigued by, because having seen the Booker judges talk about the shortlisted books in a little bit more depth, there were certain themes and sort of things that they mentioned about it that made me think, oh, actually, maybe I do want to give that one a run. I feel like that one would be a kind of quick but impactful read. I'd love people's thoughts in the comments down below. And then last but not least, we have Flesh, which for some reason I've really just taken against. And I've decided that I really don't want to read it. But then I saw this edition of it, the Canadian edition. I was like, oh my goodness, I feel like I need that book in my life. So if that copy ends up here, I don't know, by magic, some way random, or if any of you know of any Canadian independent bookshops that will send books internationally, please let me know in the comments down below. I asked about this with my autumn reading plans as well. Another video I'll link down below. I would really like to get my mitts on this edition, because I do think that that is stunning, and that just shows how, I was going to say vapid I can be, but how, again, basic I can be in the fact that a good cover will turn me right onto a book, and that one, well, is doing it for me. That's all I'll say. Anyway, I would love your thoughts on these, if you've read them, whether it's that you agree or disagree with me. Have I made you want to read them if you didn't want to? Have I made you more excited for them if you were thinking about possibly getting to them? I'd love to know all that in the comments down below. Anyway, I'm waffling right on now, so I'm going to go. I hope you're all doing super duper well. If you would like more Savage Shenanigans before the next video, my Instagram, my Blue Sky, my Patreon, which is all those things are down below. If you want to like this video, that'd be lovely. If you're not subscribed but you fancy it, come on, come along. Let's have a lovely time together, a lovely bookish time. I hope you're reading something lovely. Let me know your thoughts on any of these books, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye. Oh, my tummy rumbled right at the end of that then. Bye.